A man named John wakes up after 90 days of deep hibernation aboard a spaceship, and he has a mess. Disoriented and nauseous, he's hit with the rough side effects of the sleep drug. He urges John to snap out of it and get to work, not a single message. During his evaluation, he admits he misses fresh air more than anything. Then Nash tells him to check the radios. But John struggles, he can't even remember Zoey's last name. Nash tries to comfort him, saying confusion is totally normal after waking up from hibernation. After cleaning himself up and taking a quick shower, John joins Franks and the third crew member Nash for a routine systems check. Sam had introduced them, saying John was one of the Titan mission candidates. That memory jolts something in his brain, her last name. Morgan. They tell him he was the only one awake during the chaos and they don't know what caused it. His mind then drifts to a memory at a cozy cafe where Zoey helped him beat a tough level in a video game. He had confessed that he had no family, which ironically made him a great candidate for this lonely mission. Confused but determined, John investigates. He finds a dent in the hull and torn wires, but there's no sign of impact or warnings from Earth. The ship looks stable and isn't in immediate danger, but Nash isn't convinced. But Nash wakes him up and pulls him back to reality. That would give them a chance to reprogram the ship and escape the slingshot maneuver, bringing them home instead. At first, John is stunned. That's mutiny. But Nash tells a chilling story about an Antarctic station where the commander refused to evacuate. Later, rescuers found the crew dead, each shot in the head. And the commander had vanished? He's worried. He thinks the system is feeding them false data about the ship's condition. He gives Nash his passcode so he can change John's sleep timer. He's found no proof that the ship's damaged. Nash explodes in anger, shouting at John. Before it gets worse, Franks walks in. He sends Nash to the ration room and starts prepping the controls with John. She had explained that the Odyssey one only had enough fuel to reach Titan. He says conflict with Nash is coming whether John likes it or not. She said they always chase the light, thinking it will save them, but it often leads to their death. For the trip back, they'd need to mine Titan's rich methane reserves. He grabs the headset and rushes to Franks and Nash, demanding to know who spoke. But both deny touching the comms. With no activity on the radar for 1,000 miles, Nash brushes it off as another hallucination. Franks, looking concerned, orders everyone back into hibernation. In the reactor room, Nash shows him the power readings. They're climbing steadily, putting the engines at serious risk. But then his face drops. He begins unraveling. He can't even remember his parents' names or what they looked like. He points to the reactor screen. It's blank. There are no numbers at all. John tries to calm him down, but Nash lashes out, saying, "Zoey's already forgotten you. She's moved on." He's not sure if it's tied to the hull breach, but he insists they should turn back. Nash, pale and uneasy, admits he's been feeling off and asks John to double-check the numbers. The ship's thrusters roar to life, but the AI immediately blares a system overload warning. Franks, sweating and stone-faced, demands they push forward anyway. Sparks erupt from the damaged panel as the entire ship begins to tremble violently. When he told Zoey, her eyes dropped. She already knew. But something stops him in his tracks. Zoey. She's there on the ship. He knows it's not real, yet he can't help but follow her image, whispering to himself, "She isn't real, ... she isn't real." Then Franks appears and interrupts, saying Nash found something strange in the reactor room and needs help. As they walk, Franks warns him. Whatever he thought he saw, it wasn't Zoey. It's all in his mind. She told him she didn't want him to go. The memory stings. John thought the mission mattered more than either of them. He left her house in silence. After returning her keys. Still, John slams the activation button just in time, and the slingshot is a success. Slowly, the ship levels out, and the system confirms. They're back on course to Titan. The crew, breathing heavily, shares a celebratory drink, their tension broken. For now. He warns John again. If they don't abort the mission, they might never even make it to Jupiter. And then he realizes none of it is real. He warns that the ship may be under stress, and if they attempt the slingshot maneuver, it could lead to deadly decompression. Who has already finished uploading calculations that will let them use the slingshot to return to Earth. As Nash lashes out, Franks cuts him off, saying he'll report him to Houston as soon as comms are back. Franks pushes ahead anyway, ordering them to repair what they can while they wait for Earth's response. She had warned him that if they got too close, his selection for the mission would break both their hearts. He resets the systems, but the only thing that seems broken is the comms. Everything on board seems perfect. Soon after, they receive a cheerful holiday message from Mission Director Sam back on Earth, along with a reminder to complete their psychological assessments. But the tension is rising. Franks calls the crew to his office. He reveals he's been listening to their conversation through the ship's surveillance system. He gives a serious warning. Abandoning the mission without proof will have massive consequences. He reminds them they're a team and demands they go back into hibernation. They return to their hibernation pods. As John drifts off, he remembers a presentation about the Titan mission. It explained how the ship would perform a slingshot around Jupiter to reach Titan and mine resources that could help fix Earth's growing environmental crisis. On that day, Zoey sat beside him right after another candidate, Gordon, walked away. A sign. The ship, called Odyssey 1, is heading to Titan, Saturn's mysterious moon. John has already spent more than 9 long months in space, most of it asleep in a pod. Captain Franks wastes no time. Later, John checks his inbox, hoping for a message from his girlfriend, Zoey, but there's nothing. While working on the radio systems, John suddenly remembers the party where he first met Zoey. After that, the crew sends a status message back to Earth confirming everything is running smoothly. Another 90 days later, John wakes up again. As he starts his usual routine, something strange happens. He hears Zoey's voice. It whispers his name, soft and haunting. He follows the sound, but suddenly the whole ship starts to tremble. Lights flicker, the AI gives off warnings, and screws rain from the ceiling. Out of nowhere, a loose panel slams down and knocks John out cold. When he regains consciousness, Franks and Nash are there. John records a report for Mission Control, explaining the situation. Back in the present, Franks insists the mission must go on. Later, John dozes off on the bridge and dreams of all the warm moments he spent with Zoey. Suddenly, the lights flicker again. The screens flash, then everything seems fine. No problems show up on diagnostics. As John prepares to sleep again, he remembers Zoey's brutally honest suggestion. They should stay friends with benefits. Before he climbs into his pod, Nash pulls John aside. He suggests they wake up 12 hours before Franks. After hearing that nightmare, John agrees hesitantly. But he says they need real proof of damage before taking action. As he settles into hibernation, John recalls a speech Zoey gave about their one-way mission. Exactly 89 days and 12 hours later, John wakes up and is shocked to see Zoey's reflection in the pod window. Shaken, he heads out and finds Nash on the bridge. John and Nash see Jupiter looming outside the ship. They re-officially the first humans to get this close. But then things take a turn. John tells Nash he's out, he won't go along with the plan anymore. Franks leans in and gives John a cold warning not to pick sides. Later, Nash begs John not to go through with it, but John has already made his decision. Later, John inspects the damage again, but suddenly it collapses. He's thrown into deep space in a horrifying moment of weightless chaos. Struggling with his sanity, John remembers Zoey once telling him about moths. After a tense countdown, Franks and John begin the slingshot maneuver with steady hands while Nash watches silently, clearly on edge. A few days later, while checking the radios, John suddenly hears someone scream his name. While under, John dreams of the exact moment he was selected for the Titan mission. John wakes up gasping, falls to the ground, then takes off running around the ship to shake off the fog. John pushes back, claiming he knows what's real. John seizes the chance. He asks Nash how Franks knew about his hallucinations. Nash, confused, denies telling him. John snaps. He fires back, claiming Nash is the one hallucinating. Franks arrives and calls them both to the bridge. There, he presents damning evidence. Someone issued a low-level command that tampered with the reactor, and it was logged using John's credentials. Franks says Nash has John's password, accusing him of sabotage. He dodged the question, saying he felt many things, but never said he loved her. Tension explodes as Franks pulls a gun and orders both men into hibernation until further notice. As they head to the pods, John sees Franks violently assault Nash, slamming him into the wall and smashing his head. His arm twists, mutates, and bursts with blood. He screams only to realize another hallucination. But before he can react, the drugs hit, and everything fades to black. While unconscious, John relives the last real moment with Zoey. She asked him softly, "Do you love me?" When John wakes, the vision of Franks beating Nash haunts him. He shows security footage of John talking to no one. Then he pulls up their location, deep in space. Contact with Earth? Impossible. Frank says it's best John hibernates again. They fight brutally. John wrestles the gun away. Franks nearly chokes him out, but John lands a hit, grabs the weapon, and demands answers. Every wall feels unfamiliar, every memory a puzzle. Franks attacks again. John finally knocks him out cold with the gun. Then Franks returns, and John knocks him out yet again. This guy just won't quit. Franks just laughs and says, "You'll never find Nash." John refuses and locks himself in a room, demanding to see Nash. He thinks of ending it all. But something holds him back hope. He tries the radio one last time, and suddenly Zoey answers. It wasn't the full truth. Frank says the commander begged the crew to evacuate, but fear kept them on board. He heads to the radio station, desperate to focus. And then, a miracle, a transmission from Houston cuts through the static. But before he can reply, it vanishes. He claims Zoe's the lie, and John invented her to make sense of the madness. The ship above him is just a replica. The ground shakes. Voices echo, machinery digs, a light flickers. He sees a dead moth trapped in a bulb, and realizes not all light leads to safety. John refuses to listen. He opens the airlock, whispers, "I want to go home," and steps through. Then Zoey drops a bomb of her own. John isn't in space, frozen, alone. He's in a simulation facility in New Mexico. The ship is fake, buried deep underground, built to study isolation and mental breakdown under space-like conditions. Just figments of his fractured mind, a side effect of extreme hibernation. Eventually, the commander froze to death alone, and the gunshot wounds, self-inflicted. She was planted by the selection committee to monitor his mental health. The quake that damaged the facility also messed with their systems, and the overdose of hibernation meds caused John's full mental collapse. After showering, he searches the ship, no sign of Nash. He finds Franks instead, who claims Nash became unstable, so he had to knock him out and put him in a pod. With cold eyes and a gun in his hand, Franks warns John to keep it together. Then Franks drops a bombshell, that Antarctic story Nash told. Franks orders John back to work, determined to finish the mission. But while checking the systems, John sees something horrifying, dark veins crawling beneath his skin. He stumbles to Franks, shaken, but things get worse, much worse. Franks tells him that Zoey, she was never really his girlfriend. Franks lays out chilling details about their cafe meeting, the seminars, even her gaming skills. Then comes the final blow. Franks reveals he was part of the committee. John storms off, devastated. Franks summons him to the bridge, claiming John imagined the call. Franks pretends to comply. But when John opens the doorbell, Franks slams him against the wall, snarling that he'll kill him if he doesn't obey. Broken and spinning in paranoia, John wanders the ship. He rushes to the bridge and checks the ship's camera feeds. No one's there. Desperate, John asks the AI where Nash is. The AI replies, Nash is on the bridge, but no one's there. John checks the crew manifest, and everything shatters. There's only one name, John Franks Nash. The others, John breaks down. He pours out the whole truth, his hallucinations, the lies, the madness. She explains that the slingshot, the stars, even the hull damage all simulated. They tried to warn him, but the quake severed comms. The only way out now? Walk through the airlock into a rescue tunnel. Just as John prepares to leave, Franks appears one last time. Instead of space, he finds himself in a cold underground tunnel. Then silence. John's body drifts in space. Or so he believes. The end.